They stopped sending troops. They started sending satellites. In Part 5, the war shifts again, from banks to bandwidth and now to biometric control. As Traoré builds from within, foreign powers deploy digital surveillance tracking every heartbeat of resistance. But Traoré, he's already one step ahead. And what he reveals next will change how Africa sees itself. No bombs fell, no soldiers marched. But in Ouagadougou, the silence felt occupied. Traoré noticed it first. Signal drops near the palace, drones hovering just beyond local airspace. Then came the leaks, satellite captures, heat maps of protests. Metadata from phones. They're not invading, he said. They're watching us bleed. The new war front? Surveillance. Subscribe now, because this isn't warfare. It's financial assassination. Comment. Can liberty survive if your every step is watched? Data became a battlefield. France denied involvement. The U.S. shrugged. But Burkina's cell towers told a different story. Algorithms began tagging activists. Faces blurred in public, but recognized in shadows. They know our birthdays, said one protester, but not our dreams. Traoré met with local coders. Can we make them blind? They nodded, not because they could, but because they had to. Ouagadougou wasn't falling. It was mutating. That week, encrypted chats stopped working. Government websites displayed 404 errors. Traffic rerouted to European nodes. They're stealing our digital breath, Traoré whispered. He issued a single directive: cut the feed. Within hours, Burkina went dark. No Wi-Fi, no cellular. Only mesh nets and offline drops. It wasn't a blackout. It was a reboot. In that darkness, communities found light. Street posts lit with old batteries. Kids using chalk to write news. The revolution refused to be streamed. It had to be lived. The West responded with outrage. Internet censorship. They cried. But no one cried when foreign companies mapped children's faces, or when NGOs sold data for development. Traoré stood at the Capitol and declared, "A free mind needs a free signal, and a sovereign one chooses when to be silent." Then he launched the Digital Sovereignty Act, a bill banning all external data collectors, mandating local data storage, and encrypting all state communications through Afrinet. The digital wall had been built, not to trap people in, but to keep colonizers out. The backlash was swift. Sanction threads tightened. Human rights orgs accused Traoré of paranoia. But in villages, trust in him soared. Farmers didn't care about Twitter bans. They cared about protecting their land registry. Nurses wanted medical records safe, not sold. Students wanted local servers, not TikTok ads. One youth painted on a school wall, "We're not anti-West. We're anti-wiretap." Subscribe now, because this isn't warfare. It's financial assassination. Comment. If your phone is free, but your life is recorded, are you truly free? Then came the whistleblower. An ex-intelligence agent leaked a report titled Operation Third Eye. The file detailed covert contracts with foreign surveillance firms, secret biometric installations, and real-time data sharing with European agencies. The shock? The contracts were signed before Traoré ever came to power. He held the report at a press conference and said, "They didn't just monitor us. They programmed us to think surveillance was normal." The crowd went silent, then erupted. The leak ignited a new front: data liberation squads. Teen coders, cafe hackers, and cyberpunks launched mirror sites, archiving surveillance blueprints, doxing foreign tech liaisons, and publishing encrypted takedown manuals. They weren't just defending, they were counterattacking. A 17-year-old posted, If they want our thoughts, we'll give them firewalls instead. This wasn't resistance. It was reprogramming. Meanwhile, AfriNet 2.0 went live, with peer voting, facial spoofing detectors, and a native operating system called Ubuntu. Built by Africans, hosted on offline chips, impossible to tap. It wasn't perfect. It was powerful. The world mocked the UI. But villagers traded goods with QR codes on banana leaves. We don't need pretty, Traoré said. We need unbreakable. And so, from broken routers and repurposed phones, they built digital dignity. But threats weren't just foreign. An internal minister, long silent, demanded foreign partnerships restored. He claimed Traoré's isolationism endangered the economy. Behind closed doors, he had meetings with Western envoys. When confronted, he replied, "Data nationalism is unsustainable." Traoré didn't yell. He handed the minister a USB stick, the same stick containing the Operation Third Eye leak. "If you're not with the people," he said, "at least don't sell them." That night, a drone hovered low over the presidential compound. Seconds later, its feed was hijacked. A message appeared. "Ouagadougou is watching you too." The next day, CNN ran a headline, "Traoré's Africa goes full cyberpunk." But in cafes across the continent, people smiled at the phrase. "We didn't go cyberpunk," said one. "We went sovereign." Subscribe now, because this isn't warfare. It's financial assassination. Comment: would you rather be seen or be free? Suddenly, one of Africa's biggest news platforms went offline. Servers wiped. Archives deleted. Source traced to a botnet from Luxembourg. But Traoré didn't flinch. "When they delete our past," he said, "we write it in stone." Within hours, teenagers across Ouagadougou launched a mirror version of the site, rebuilt entirely from community screenshots. They called it Memory Rebellion. Truth had been privatized. Now it was back in public hands. Foreign embassies warned Traoré, "Restore cooperation or face total isolation." IMF talks froze. Aid shipments stalled. Tourism ads pulled. The message was clear: obey or disappear. But instead of retreating, Traoré went live. No teleprompter. No diplomats. Just him, a chalkboard, and a plan. "We were never poor," he said. "We were just overcharged." In that moment, millions of Africans stopped watching passively and started calculating. The next day, Burkina Faso launched a tool, the True Cost Calculator. Anyone could input food, fuel, medicine, and see global pricing versus local income. It wasn't flashy. It was furious. Screenshots went viral. A $3 imported aspirin versus a 20 cents local herb. "This app made me angrier than any speech." One farmer posted. Global news didn't cover it, but the people downloaded it 10 million times in 3 days. Knowledge had become resistance. In classrooms, teachers asked, "Why did we ever outsource our stories?" In markets, old women whispered, "Maybe this revolution isn't about guns." The system wasn't collapsing. It was peeling. Colonial lies, imported shame, manufactured dependence. All coming off, and beneath it all, a raw, brilliant, angry hope. Ouagadougou wasn't glowing on satellite images, but inside the people, something brighter was burning. Something that couldn't be mapped. Finally, Traoré released a digital sovereignty manifesto, a call to all African nations: host your own data, write your own code, guard your people's information like gold. The next war, he said, won't be fought in trenches. It'll be fought in traffic. Subscribe now, because this isn't warfare. It's financial assassination. Comment: If they can see everything you do, what's left that's yours? Then came the ripple. Niger adopted Afrinet. Mali passed its own data independence bill. Senegalese students demanded their universities drop foreign cloud providers. It was never just about money, said one leader. It was about memory. Africa wasn't just watching Traoré, it was mirroring him. And suddenly, the old powers grew nervous, not because of weapons, but because of code. Global media shifted tone, from dictator to data radical. NGOs released reports with veiled warnings. Traoré's movement could set a precedent. Translation? Others might stop obeying too. But the revolution didn't beg for headlines. It printed its own. School kids distributed signs titled, "The Day We Unplugged," and every page ended with the same line. If they're watching, give them something worth seeing. Global media shifted tone, from dictator to data radical. NGOs released reports with veiled warnings. Traoré's movement could set a precedent. Translation? Others might stop obeying too. But the revolution didn't beg for headlines. It printed its own. School kids distributed signs titled, "The Day We Unplugged," and every page ended with the same line. If they're watching, give them something worth seeing. The IMF requested a closed-door summit. Traoré declined. Instead, he live-streamed a speech from a village radio tower. You wanted us to kneel. We logged out instead. Millions tuned in. Not because of production value, but because the truth didn't need effects. One rural elder said, "For the first time I understood the war, and it had nothing to do with guns." In silence, the world began to rethink what power looks like. As the screen fades, a final quote appears. They colonized our land, then our money, now our minds. This is where it ends. The world saw Traoré not as a disruptor, but as a reminder. That sovereignty isn't granted. It's coded, encrypted, and defended. Subscribe now because this isn't warfare. It's financial assassination. Comment. If Africa controls its past, present, and future, who controls you?